Transfers are meant to elevate a team, bring in fresh talent, and spark a new era of success. But not all big moves live up to expectations. Some of the most hyped transfers in football history have turned into absolute disasters. Whether it's a player who never adapted to the new league, struggled with injuries, or simply failed to live up to their price tag, these transfers have become infamous for all the wrong reasons. From highly anticipated signings that crashed and burned, to shocking flops that baffled fans and managers, these deals left a lasting stain on football history. So let's look at the most infamous transfer flops in history. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Goat Blender for more football insights and stories. Give this video a like and share your biggest transfer flop in the comments. Liverpool star Philippe Coutinho completed a shocking switch to Barcelona during the last winter transfer window. The Barcelona board hoped the Brazilian international would be the new face of the club. Over the years, Coutinho was considered one of Liverpool's greatest players, and his transfer saw him being regarded as a direct replacement for Neymar, the Barcelona star who joined PSG in the record-breaking deal. The Catalans signed the Brazilian playmaker for 145 million euros, a record fee for a player whose performances in the English Premiership suggested he could translate that form into Barcelona. There were high expectations from Coutinho to dovetail immediately with Messi and Suarez in what would be dubbed the deadly trident of the Barcelona attack. But the situation changed as time went on. Although Coutinho had been a bright spark in Liverpool, he never seemed to gain his form in Barcelona. He put in some exciting shifts, but never operated as part of the team's cohesive formation. Sadly, he could not bring such a form from Liverpool, which turned him into the most enthralling players in the English Premier League. Also, Barcelona, playing under the stewardship of Ernesto Valverde, subdued him. If there was ever a player that needed proper guidance from his coach, it was him. Not to mention the fact that he has a lot of pressure having signed for Barcelona for this unimaginable amount of money. After just a year and a half at the club, Coutinho was loaned out to Bayern Munich before achieving any success, where he scored the decisive goal that won the Champions League in 2020. However, his tenure at Barcelona was disappointing, and many regarded it as one of the worst transfers in football history. Another big flop that attracted a lot of discussion was Eden Hazard's transfer to Real Madrid in 2019. Hazard joined Madrid after 7 spectacular seasons at Chelsea, during which he cemented his status as one of the top wingers in the sport, to become the sensation meant to replace Cristiano Ronaldo. Real Madrid, which was associated with Galacticos for many years, spent a record 100 million euros signing the Belgian star in the capital of Spain. Nevertheless, life for Hazard in Madrid did not taste like the fabled happily ever after. However, being such a talented player, the fitness problems that haunted Hazard from the start of the season could not be overlooked. They expected so much from him, but he disappointed them by not performing as expected in the initial games. Injuries limited his development, and though he continued to be a regular starter, he never fully returned to being the Premier League's crown among attackers. Worse still, he failed to chip in goals in important matches, while other players who dropped out of the team, such as Karim Benzema, returned to scoring form. So far at Real Madrid, things have gotten wrong for him, and he has missed a lot of chances. Hazard's transfer was used to benchmark how sometimes expectations put on talented players are too much to handle. Another example of a high-profile failure in recent years was the signing of Angel Di Maria to Manchester United in 2014. Di Maria was among the most impressive performers for Real Madrid during their successful Champions League title run in 2014, and his signing by Manchester United was considered a big coup for the Red Devils, who had just appointed Luis van Gaal to manager. United signed the Argentine winger for a then British record of £59.7 million. This new signing was expected to help strengthen the team's attack. However, Di Maria's strikes can be seen as a complete failure at Old Trafford. Intermittently, he gave glimpses of his potential in the first half of the season, but he was never comfortable at Old Trafford. He was never consistent, and many of his performances were below average, sometimes substandard. Also, he had an enormous trouble bearing with the physicalities of the Premier League, and besides having off-field problems, his stay with United was short, Di Maria was sold to Paris Saint-Germain in less than a year, where he proved people wrong, getting back to his former status as the main star. His disastrous period at Manchester United was one of the biggest transfer disappointments in modern football, with the Red Devils losing a lot of money on a flop. One transfer that left fans scratching their heads was the move of Robinho from Santos to Manchester City in 2008. At the time, Robinho was one of the most promising players in world football, and his transfer to City was viewed as a major signing, particularly given that City was still in the process of building its team after the takeover by the Abu Dhabi United Group. Robinho was meant to trigger this change, and he was the key player that would propel City to the new epoch, but he was mainly inconsistent, came across as unmotivated, and had issues off the pitch. Although he showed glimpses of his great City potential, Robinho never fulfilled his sensational billing. His displays were dull, and he never exercised enough to suit the intensity of the Premiership. Robinho, who joined Manchester City after his impressive display in the World Cup, was sold back to Santos after his 2-season stay at the club. His brilliance suffered due to high expectations of him after his signing. Another significant flop in the Premier League was Chelsea's signing of Andrei Shevchenko in 2006. At that time, Shevchenko was one of the old continent's most skilled strikers, who had received the Ballon d'Or award in 2004 and was stable and productive in Milan's ranks. During the time owned by Roman Abramovich, Chelsea set a record by signing Shevchenko for £30 million, while making him one of the most expensive football players. However, this experience in England was arguably disappointing. Even though Shevchenko had a superb background and was fit for the English top division, the tactician could not rise to the challenge physically, and he did not replicate his heroics from AC Milan. Due to his failure to fit into the new Chelsea team and the emergence of Didier Drogba as the new Chelsea's key striker, Shevchenko spent most of his time at Stamford Bridge warming the bench. He was loaned back to Milan after only 2 unremarkable seasons, and his time there was not great either. Shevchenko spent time in Chelsea, and most of the time it was considered one of the biggest transfer disasters, although Shevchenko was one of the best talents of the modern period. The return of Romelu Lukaku to Chelsea in January 2021 for £97.5 million was lauded as the answer to Chelsea's foremost problem of goal scoring. Lukaku came to Chelsea after having a good Inter Milan run, where he clinched the Serie A title with eye-catching goals and a muscular performance. However, as one might have expected, the reunion was not to be merrymaking, but rather sour. Lukaku could not fit into Thomas Tuchel's formation at Chelsea, but was faulted for being too long and offered low returns. Ankle injuries, inconsistent performances, and behavioral issues, such as an interview in which he complained about the club, further complicated matters. As his form began to wane, Chelsea asked for a massive investment in their star man, who was wasting away. Only after 1 season was Lukaku loaned back to Inter Milan, and his return to Stamford Bridge proved to be expensive and a major transfer failure in recent years of the Premier League. Lastly, there was the equally interesting scenario of Winston Bogarde for Chelsea. Initially acquired in 2000 for £7 million from Barcelona, Bogarde has been prized as one of Chelsea's defense reinforcements. Nevertheless, he was soon among the club's biggest failures. Despite earning a fairly handsome wage, Bogarde was more or less benched for most of his time at Stamford Bridge. He rarely appeared in the team, even declined to enter the club, and demanded a pay raise, which made fans and the media turn on him. Bogarde's stay at Chelsea was a case of how pedigree soccer stars can become absolute failures due to bad form, bad attitude, and a failure to live up to the demands of the Premier League. Transfer windows in football combine promising narratives, which may be embraced, or underachieved, which is dreaded. Some infamous failed transfers are Philippe Coutinho to Barcelona, Eden Hazard to Real Madrid, Angel Di Maria to Manchester United, Robinho to Manchester City, Andrei Shevchenko to Chelsea, and Winston Bogarde to Chelsea. In many cases, these particular players failed to stick to the new environment, had injury issues, or were too intimidated by the immense expectations placed on their shoulders as marquee acquisitions. These transfers not only saw clubs crippled with losses, but they also made fans and executives aware of all the risks of signing big players who may not perform up to par. For the fans, these infamous transfer flops are a bitter pill to swallow, since for the lovers of the game, it points out that the beautiful game can also go wrong, even where transfers create excitement. Which transfer do you think was the biggest flop in football history? Was it Coutinho's struggles at Barcelona, Hazard's injury-ridden spell at Real Madrid, or another high-profile signing that didn't work out? Let us know in the comments which transfer takes the crown as the most infamous flop. Thanks for watching. If you loved this video, hit that subscribe button and comment on what transfer stories you want us to cover next.